President Castellanos, live stream is now in progress. You may turn on your mic and start the meeting.
Good evening and welcome to the February 1st, 2023 special board meeting of the Capo Unified School District. The meeting is now in session and the time is 5:34 p.m. Mrs. Hayes, please call the roll.
Trustee Bullicus.
Here.
Trustee Davis.
Here.
Trustee Jones. Trustee Jones, I believe, is en route. Trustee Pritchard.
Present.
Trustee Hanachek. Here. Trustee Parham.
Here.
Trustee Castellanos.
Here. Mrs. Hayes, before the board recesses to closed session, is there anyone who'd like to speak about a closed session? Okay, the board will now recess to closed session to address the following agenda items. A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, signature exposure litigation, one case. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, significant exposure to litigation, one case. The board will now recess to closed session.
Yeah.
President Castellanos, live stream is now in progress. You may turn on your mic and open the meeting.
Good evening and welcome to the February 1st, 2023 special board meeting of the Capistrano Unified School District. Meeting is now in session and the time is 6:10. Mrs. Hayes, please call the roll.
Trustee Bullicus.
Here.
Trustee Davis. Here. Trustee Jones. Here. Trustee Pritchard.
Present.
Trustee Hanachek. Trustee Parham.
Here.
Trustee Castellanos.
Here. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Trustee Jones. I'm gonna call you out, Trustee Jones. Are you ready? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I please have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee David, seconded by Trustee Parham. Mrs. Hayes, please call the roll.
Trustee Bullicus.
Aye.
Trustee Davis. Aye. Trustee Jones. Aye. Trustee Pritchard.
This is the roll.
It's
The adoption of the agenda.
Okay, thanks. Aye.
Trustee Hanachek.
aye.
Trustee Parham.
Aye.
Trustee Castellanos.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0 by roll call vote to adopt the agenda. Mrs. Hayes, please read the report out from closed session.
On agenda item 3A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, trustees gave direction to staff. On agenda item 3B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, trustees voted 7-0 to approve staff recommendation on the following case. OAH case number 2022100452. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Staff reached out to 4 superintendent search firms, inviting them to present an overview of their services at tonight's board meeting. The board will hear from presentations from representatives of each of these firms. Timer shall be set for 15 minutes for each presentation. The order of presentations for tonight's meeting will be alphabetical as listed on the agenda. I recommend that we listen to the presentations from each firm, and then we'll take speaker cards from the public, if any, and then proceed with trustee discussion, including an opportunity for trustees to ask questions they may have for the firms. Trustees, if this is acceptable, I would like to call Education Support Services to please come to the podium. Is everybody okay with that, trustees? Okay, so Education Support Services and Mrs. Hayes, please.
Good evening. I'm Joe Farley, and this is Suzette Lovely. We're with Education Support Services. And I'd like to begin by saying you have a very important decision to make tonight, because the selection of a superintendent is probably one of the most important things that you will do. And it's also important that you make the right selection about who helped you through that process. And I know you received detailed proposals about the search firms. And if you've read through them, you know that there are a lot of commonalities and similarities between those proposals. But I think the one thing that Suzette and I can say that distinguishes us from the others is we have significant credibility in the region and in the district because we're former leaders of CUSD. This is important because the candidates we can assure the candidates that this is a really good place to work and that the superintendent will be happy and productive here and supported here. We also view this superintendency as an incredible and positive opportunity for the right person. And we can credibly promote that with the candidates out there. We also have the unique ability to describe the district pretty well. We could talk about the district's excellent instructional program, its long history as a high achieving school district, and the excellence that is embedded in the district's underlying culture. And to say that no matter what the system confronted over the years, its culture of excellence prevailed. And it prevailed because it was fully enhanced or fully embraced, by successive generations of staff and community members as the Capistrano way. So excellence is here and something that we will market to incoming candidates. Suzette and I have collectively held almost every teaching and administrative position in education. We were elementary, middle school, and high school teachers. We were principals or administrators at all three levels. We were assistant superintendents of instruction, assistant superintendents of human resources, deputy superintendents, and superintendents of 4 different school districts, including an elementary district, unified school districts, and a union high school district. We were also professors at the graduate and doctoral level at several California universities. Suzette and I have also done superintendent searches in districts of every size and configuration, like Laguna Beach Unified School District with 4 schools and the Los Angeles Unified School District with 900 regular schools and 187 charter schools. But most importantly, we fully conceptualize and understand the strengths, complexities, leadership needs, and issues of your district. And we will enhance that knowledge through our extensive focus groups and surveying of your district's stakeholders. I'd like to highlight just a few other features of our search. We'll spend as much time as it takes. We'll provide trustees with weekly written updates on the search. We'll help you create your own unique search. And we'll discuss what to modify, what to add. We'll be available 24/7. We'll communicate with your stakeholders throughout the search. We will recruit widely for the position, but we'll also invite applicants who are highly respected and successful current superintendents to apply. We'll make sure that the search is confidential, fair, and unbiased. And we'll also sit in on your interviews, all of your interviews, so we can help you assess the candidates. As your lead consultant, I will not consider another search while yours is in progress. We also live nearby. Suzette's in San Clemente and I'm in Newport Beach. And proximity is important because we'll devote extraordinary time to your search. We develop strong professional relationships with the candidates we recruit, and we'll interact with them throughout the process, keep them completely informed at each step. And this is important because it influences how they initially perceive your district and this position. We'll also prepare the final candidate for transition into his or her new position. Our attention to detail and the details of this work will reflect positively on the board as the employer of this new superintendent and in its ongoing work with the new superintendent. Our dedication to your search from the beginning of the process to the end means that all search participants will say they were respected, treated fairly, and were well informed through each step of the selection. This sets a very positive tone for the board as the employer and for its ongoing work with the new superintendent. Suzette will give you the second part of our presentation.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, trustees and staff members too that are here. There's not a student here tonight. So it's a privilege to be with you and engage about the upcoming Capistrano Unified Search process. As a 40-year resident of South Orange County, I've benefited immensely from serving as a CUSD teacher, administrator, and member of this beloved school community. And as Joe noted, we believe that our history and relationships with the district are an incredible asset to your search process. Joe and I actually began doing searches together starting in 2018, first working for Hazard Young and Atia and now for Education Support Services. And we're really proud of our track record of success. And I want to highlight just a few distinguishing elements within our search process that sets us apart from some of the other firms that you might engage with tonight. First, we're real uniquely positioned to assemble applicant pools with the background and experiences that match what the board and community are looking for. And this is due in large part to our extensive networks throughout Orange County, the region, California, and also nationally. I'm very involved in the Association of School Superintendents at the national level and their aspiring superintendent program. 22 of our 25 22 of the last 25 superintendents recruited by members of our ESS cadre are still in their positions. 63% of our superintendent placements represent the face of the districts and the students that they serve. And ESS utilizes a multi-pronged process to ensure the character and reputation of candidates match the district's high standards and expectations. So first, during our initial applicant screening, before we even bring any candidates forward, we contact those references listed on resumes and also those that aren't. We call those blind appraisals. So we get a really true picture of an individual and what they may or may not bring to the role. Second, we hire a social media analyst to audit the online presence and digital footprint of the board's candidate slate. And this ensures that no unfavorable headlines or news stories emerge after someone has been interviewed by the board. And finally, we engage with a third-party background screening company to examine the criminal, civil, credit, and education history of the board's finalist. And the cost of all of this extensive vetting is included within our fee, and it's designed to verify the background and integrity of your finalist. When it comes to hiring, no employer likes a surprise party. Our leadership profile is another unique and valuable tool that we use in our search process that really helps the board in narrowing the pool of candidates and helps applicants also have a snapshot of where CUSD is now and where your stakeholders want to see it headed. And a key element of this profile also comes from your student voice. Not only do we talk to your student board reps, your ASB leaders, we also hear from a broad spectrum of your affinity groups that are spread across your campuses. And again, the leadership profile, when we present this, it's not just a running list of all the things that people tell us. We synthesize the mounds of data that we gather from our interviews with stakeholders and our online surveys, and we distill it into themes that the board can actually use to understand your current strengths and challenges from a variety of perspectives in the district. It can also help the board unify your hiring priorities with the priorities of your staff, families, employees, and community at large. And it informs your round one interview questions as well as your closed session deliberations as you narrow the field of finalists. And finally, we don't just walk away from CUSD once a candidate is hired and board approved. Our process also includes a very thoughtful transition workshop with the board and the new superintendent. During that process, we share what we learned during the search, and we highlight all the essential actions that your employers or your employees, your students, parents, and community hope to see going forward. Board President Kathy Thompson from Central School District in San Bernardino County. We have a letter of endorsement from her in our packet, but she seemed to encapsulate this bridge well when she noted our ESS advisors took an overwhelming task and made it a very positive experience for us as a leadership team. We are unified and ready to move into the future with great confidence for success for all stakeholders. And I'll turn it back over to Joe for some closing comments.
I think importantly, this is not just another search for us. We really care about this district. We were invested in the district, and we really want to help you find an exemplary, new leader who will be honored to have been invited to work here, just like we were once when we were hired here. So with that, we'll open it up to any of your questions.
I think we're going to take questions at the end. So thank you.
At the end of everyone?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next firm to the podium is Hazard, Young and Atia. Mrs. Hayes is set for 15 minutes.
Well, thank you and good evening to the board. You have a beautiful facility. I want to say that first. And I love what Capistrano has done for your students over the past several years, especially, and what the board is aiming to do now in finding a new superintendent. My name is Daryl Adams. I'm the West Coast Associate for Hazard, Young and Athea. Heretofore be, I'll say just HYA if that's okay, or we sometimes say HIYA. So I'm happy to be here today and present this important opportunity for us to help you find your next superintendent. So we have 35 years of experience in executive searches. We're a national firm. We have associates around the country. 1,500 school boards have relied on HYA to find some of their executive positions to cover, as well as some of their superintendents. We've done searches in Seattle, San Francisco, LA, Nebraska, Fort Worth. So we have a lot of opportunity to reach nationwide to find that fit for the district. We are also the search firm for American Association of School Superintendents. We're selected to do the executive director search for other districts, and for ALAS, which is the American Latino Association of Superintendents, and also for the executive positions throughout the nation. So we rely on all of our associates to work together. It's not just me and my colleague that'll be working, but all 150 or so of our staff will be working on that. We rely heavily on the research and the analytics to ensure that we're going to, make sure we find the right person and we vet those people coming in. We have a full-time back office and IT staff, very responsive, communicative. I live in Rancho Cucamonga, a little further, but I can get here also as well anytime. It'd be 24 hours notice. We know this is a very serious responsibility for the board, finding that best leader for you. That's our goal, to help you do that. And we have a 4-stage process. It is to engage the community and the desires of the board, and also then to recruit from a wide range of candidates that meet the requirements that the board sets forward after we, come together on what the community wants, what the board wants, and then to facilitate that selection process. We will hopefully arrive at the best match for you. And then also we support the board in that transitional phase as well. We just don't leave. We are with you all the way. So we'll help you understand how we can work together, engage in the community, recruiting the best candidates, helping you select them. And also we will be with you throughout the process, and then as well throughout the transition. Speaking again of our engagement phase, we have a disciplined, inclusive approach to the community engagement that ensures that all the stakeholders have an opportunity to be a part of the search. And we also begin the planning meeting with the board to understand what your vision is and how we can customize those components of the search process through interviews, focus groups, town hall meetings, and virtual events. They were all commenced, and we will develop that leadership and profile selection criteria along with the board. Our next phase is research-based phase, and that's going to be very important to develop that based on effective leadership, criteria. And there's a science involved in crafting that. And there's a good survey questionnaire that we use. It's a multi-stage process to help to design and measure the change over time and report those survey findings to the board. This is not like a survey monkey. It's really in-depth. It's research-based, and the report is sophisticated and informative to publish for the community. The survey responses are then summarized by area, consulting groups, and disaggregated at the question level. We would prefer that we have a sample survey report in your packet as well. Our recruit phase, after engaging the constituents to help you best understand the desires of the community, we want to have the wide range of candidates bring it to the board that will meet your requirements. And no other firm recruits like we do, because we have 35 years of experience, large quantity of searches of around 1,500 over the years, and the search volume places our firm and associates in frequent contact with potential candidates. So all of us kind of will come together to help find those candidates that best meet your needs. All right, next we have our exposure and our analytics is very important. Like I said, the survey report, which we produce, it includes views on how this job is to be received, on what days, on the average amount of time, what postings we would be looking at, and no other firm has the infrastructure to provide this data to their clients. How else do you know that your advertisement is working? How else would you know that many people are looking at a job but not many are really applying? This leads us to important conversations about published information about the school system, salary expectations, and benefits. We have a commitment to diversity throughout the recruiting phase. Our firm has been committed to engaging a diverse group, associates and our candidates since they have been established, since the firm has been established in 1987. We also work with the board to understand what your equity and inclusion work and how we can recruit candidates with recent and relevant experience. HYA also commits to identifying and supporting and placing school and district leaders of color and gender to have long historical underrepresented student opportunities for those candidates as well. One of our emeritus associations was the founder of the National Alliance of Black Educators. So we really pride ourselves on ensuring that we have a wide variety of diversified candidates for you. In our selection phase, we want to help you after we understand how we are going to engage the community. We want to bring a wide range of candidates to you and facilitate the selection process. As our associates are very skilled, our phase includes board workshop to ensure that the board is properly understanding and trained in regarding the interview techniques. And then finally, we complement the vetting of our network of associates. We have a relationship with Baker Eubanks, which is a third-party independent and comprehensive background check firm. This ensures that we are protected with a comprehensive due diligence check, including court records, financial credit reports, degrees confirmed, and especially social and news media reviews. Okay. All right. And next we have, we'll speak to the transition phase. And that as we select your new leader, we will not leave the day he or she is appointed. We will help the district through the transition by meeting with the new superintendent and the board leadership to go over information learned throughout the search. Appointing a new leader is the first step toward accomplishing organizational and student goals of success. So newly appointed leaders must be provided support services to be effective in their role in working with the board. So we will continue to support the board and a new leader and ensure that the transition of this new leader is successful. All right, our next one, our cost guarantees. I didn't put a cost there, but it's in our packet. It's $26,000, and we will match any of our competitors as well. But we believe that we will be able to make this cost effective, as I am very local, only 40 something miles away. And we will, our price is guaranteed. And if you're not satisfied, you will be satisfied. We'll make sure that we get the job done and if there's any problems. So with that, I know I have a few minutes left, but then we'll do questions at the end. But I just want you to know that this is an important decision that we would like to assist the board on, and look forward to the opportunity to answer any questions you have later. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we listen to the last two, I'm just going to call a 5-minute break. Is everybody okay? Yes. Okay, are you? Okay. Everybody okay? Okay. Okay, all right then, moving right along. Leadership Associates.
I think they're out in the lobby.
No, they're back.
Oh.
Oh, no, they are still in lobby. I think they're still in lobby.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, I'm Peggy Lynch. I'm a partner with Leadership Associates. I've been with the firm since 2009. I also am a resident of San Clemente. I've been here for a little over 20 years or more, I think, in San Clemente, and I love that little town. It's a perfect place for me to be. I wanted to just spend some time, quick introductions, and Colleen, can we do this from here, or are you doing this? Okay, great. So You're standing there. See if I get this. I did it. Okay, there we go. Go back one. How do I go back? I'm sorry, I'm not used to this one. There, okay, sorry. So we have 3 consultants on this search. We are all interested in being part of this. I think as I look at the pictures and Mr. Presby over there reminded me I have a lot shorter hair than I did in that last picture, and she has a lot longer hair than, so we flipped around a little bit, but we're really excited about this opportunity. We feel as a firm, we've been in business since 1996, and as a firm, we feel really committed that it's important to have the very best leader for every kid in every school district in the state of California. While we are a state firm, we operate mostly in California. We certainly have placed people from all over the United States in our searches throughout the years. We know some things about your district already, but we sure don't know everything. And that's something that we want to work really hard to do. Kent Beckler, whose picture's on the bottom there. Kent is in Thailand or on his way to Thailand as we speak. And so he apologizes that he was not able to be here. I was in San Diego Union High School District for 7 years as superintendent. And prior to that, 7 years in Brea Linda Unified. And then I spent 24 years of my career in Tustin Unified School District. Go ahead and tell yours.
Thanks, Peggy. I'm Sandy Sanchez Thorstensen. I was in the Whittier Union High School District as superintendent for 14 years and graduated from Whittier High School as a kid, started teaching there as a 22-year-old first-year teacher. Would have never guessed in a million years that I would serve the last 14 years of my career as the superintendent. And it was a blessing to serve that community that I still live in now. And my daughter graduated from one of our schools. I served as the chair of the CCEE in its inaugural years. I was appointed by Governor Brown into that position and learned a lot, worked with school districts up and down the state. Prior to that, I served as the chair of the Access Superintendency Council. So I had wonderful opportunities to be able to work with school districts up and down the state through those experiences, and have been in and around Capistrano several times and know that this place is an outstanding community, outstanding school district and serving its students.
Okay. Feedback. Got it.
Okay, thank you. No worries, no worries. We just wanted to mention that the 3 of us, Kent and Peggy and I, is this better? Thank you. Have dedicated our careers to serving the mission of ensuring that every single student has the premium education that they deserve. So when we stepped off our superintendencies, we did not lose that passion. You know, the work that we've been doing since then. I retired as a superintendent in 2016 and have been very, very involved in this wonderful work in serving school districts up and down the state since then, and been a partner with Leadership Associates since 2016. And in that work, we're committed to being your ambassadors. We're committed to ensuring through all of the extensive stakeholder input that we get to know your community incredibly well, and ensure that we're recruiting candidates who are a wonderful match and deserve to be here in Capistrano. Through that work, and as our colleague said just a little earlier, all 4 of us as firms are committed to this work. We all have very, very similar processes. So it's helpful for you to understand how we are a bit different. With Leadership Associates, we're a team of partners, which is very, very different from the other firms. All 14 of us work together on every single search. So every other Tuesday morning, we're together on a Zoom meeting. We meet twice a year in person. We're all over the whole state. And if we're chosen for honor to be able to serve you, you'll have me and Peggy and Kent completely focused on Capistrano Unified, but you'll have all the rest of our partners who will be working with us to help us to recruit and vet. And we all have networks up and down the state. So it's one of the reasons why we have had so much repeat business. And also we have this very, very extensive infrastructure with the back office and also IT support. But those executive assistants that work with us, they used to be superintendent's executive assistants. They were on the other side of the search process and understand what it takes. And our executive assistant would work hand in hand with Colleen every step of the way to provide support through every one of those stages. And these are our wonderful team members, Serena Farrington, Penny Pyle, and Betty Hall. And as I mentioned, they're full-time infrastructure support. And we also have Bill Banning as our IT manager who helps us with very sophisticated technology to help us ensure that we're compiling all the information through the stakeholder input sessions, through the online surveys, and provide you with all that information every step of the way. We won't take the time to go through all of these pieces here, but to just point out that it is a partnership that we enjoy in Leadership Associates, and diversity, inclusion, equity, accountability, all of those things that we know are values that you embrace are values that we also embrace. In addition to working on executive searches, this is another thing that really is a discerning factor with Leadership Associates. We have our executive search side of our firm, and then we have our executive leadership development side of our firm. So we do a lot of coaching of superintendents. We want to make sure that whoever you select out of the high quality candidates that we will bring is going to be successful. So we'll provide that support. I personally do superintendent leadership series training for Orange County, San Diego County, and LA County superintendents and a network. So it's both sides of the firms have the symbiotic relationship in helping to ensure that the work is done well in the search, but also that it continues to produce outstanding results for the board and all the kids that are entrusted to you. You can see here all of our partners. We're up and down the state. We work very, very closely together, as I mentioned just a bit ago, in ensuring that you have all of us focused on Capistrano Unified. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, just in our recent data, we've done 69% of the searches in California. Some of the, just a sampling of those: Fountain Valley, Corona, Norco, Tustin, Saddleback, Newport Mesa, and many, many more. I'll just pull out a couple of things here. I mentioned our collaborative team with partners who support each other on all searches, the extensive infrastructure, and also our processes and protocols, although they're very, very similar to our colleagues who are presenting this evening as well. We fine-tune those as an entire team on a regular basis. We have 2 in-person meetings throughout the year, and we spend a large chunk of that time discussing each of the searches that we've done, what we've learned from them, how we can continually fine-tune and ensure that those processes and protocols are producing the best results for all of you. These are just the different organizations across the state and the nation that all of us as partners are directly involved in, and continue to keep these tight networks, which helps us in our recruiting efforts, along with the work that we do on the executive leadership development side of our house. We're working with assistant superintendents and sitting superintendents as we provide the professional learning, ongoing professional learning. So we have our eye on aspiring superintendents or superintendents who have the desire to move to a different district, and this is absolutely a big draw. This process that we follow, again, similar to our colleagues, starts and ends with the board, and we would, bless you, we would be involved. We would keep you involved in the whole entire process, in that we would just be providing lots of detailed information for you all the way through. Stakeholder input is a very important, extensive part of the process, because we want to make sure that this search serves exactly what you need. So we'll start with you And then you'll provide us with all the list of the stakeholders that you want to make sure that we connect with. And then there's the online survey as well. And we'll give you all the data as we go through the process, not just at the end. And I mentioned already that the recruitment and the vetting is not going to be done just by Peggy, myself, and Kent, but we'd have all of our partners working on that effort. And this is just a quick list of some of the things we do with our executive leadership support, part of our firm that again touches 7 counties throughout the state, 180 districts, 6 networks with 47 districts. So when I was thinking about the number of superintendents that I have actually worked with over my last 6 years, it's well over 100 superintendents across the state. So it's been very gratifying work and also helps us in understanding who are the real quality leaders who've got a track record that would match the kind of needs and values that you have.
So just some closing thoughts. It's your search. We want to work with you directly to know what makes sense for you, the best way it can be. We think we're competitive, reasonable. We don't have hidden fees. I'm not charging for hotels since I live here. So, but nobody else has to charge for hotels. We have a quality administrative support staff. I think if we're selected, I'm fortunate enough to be selected, Colleen would actually receive from Serena Farrington an absolute total packet of everything has to, including language that goes on the agendas, sample press releases. We put all of that together so they get everything. And she works very closely with each of the executive assistants. 64% of our individuals selected by our school boards, where we led it, were women or persons of color. We think that's important. We're committed to diversity and equity. We're a California firm, but we also have a strong national reach. We have placed people from Illinois, from Oregon, Connecticut, you name it. We have lots of people who've come from all over. We also have it's kind of, if you will, a serve list, if you will, of about almost 1,000 people in the state of California, administrators who can access anytime we have a posting of anything, news from Leadership Associates. It goes to almost 1,000 people at that moment. So we can reach a lot of people rather quickly, and that's really helpful. I think the other thing is, somebody I maybe mentioned a little bit earlier, we have a great reputation with boards, but we have a really good reputation with candidates. Candidates like our search process. They feel it's confidential. They feel they can trust us. We connect with people all over. They know when we talk, we're telling an absolute truth. Not that anybody else isn't, but they really do trust us because we've done this for a long time and we have that kind of reputation. I think all of our partners in our firm have outstanding educational reputations. So I feel always good that candidates like what we do, but boards like what we do, because I think we have to, I mean, obviously the board pays us, but the candidates have to feel like they're getting well served when they go through this, because it's a big commitment to apply and become a superintendent. So with that, I think since you're going to do questions at the end, I think we'll end it. And we did it with 1 and 23 left.
Okay,
Thank
our
you.
fourth
Thank you.
firm, I'd like to call to the podium, the Costco Group. I think they were outside. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please come to the podium.
Aha, that'll get us to the next one. Thank you. Hi, my name is Pat Pulio. We are the Costco Group. I'm going to be standing in for Joel Shapiro tonight. He had a medical procedure that was established for today quite a long time ago, so he felt he probably should do that. And he sends his best wishes and thanks you again for allowing us to be here tonight. We are the Costco Group, as I said. We have been in business for 23 years, have done over 100 searches. We are a little picky about where we apply for searches and try to match our skills with the needs of the district. My partner here is Nick Salerno, and he's going to be stepping in as well. And he'll tell you a little bit about Joel and a little bit about himself. We look at our guiding principles of this process as being trust, commitment, and guidance. So those are what really helps us to take our process through a very well-organized set of activities, but you will be the ones making the decisions. And we think that that's extremely important. We won't be telling you who you should hire. So Nick, you're next.
So your district, we want to congratulate you on your established record of outstanding academic achievement and performance of your students. We especially noted your above average performances in English language arts, mathematics, your tremendous parent and community support, the involvement of the community, including financial support that comes in to help the district. And bottom line, that means helping students, and that's why we're all here. As well as the dedicated staff with long-term connections to the district. So your district's well known. Our job is to try to find the match that builds on these strengths you already have and take them even further.
Still there.
So our search team, as Pat stated, Joel Shapiro will be the lead on this search. Joel is a former superintendent in South Pasadena Unified School District. He's been an educator for 42 years. He's a superintendent advisor to Ed Leader 21 Education Association. He served as an assistant superintendent of instruction in Burbank Unified School District, was elementary and secondary principal, adjunct professor at Occidental and Cal State University Northridge, received several awards from AXA, and he coached superintendents and other educational leaders. So Joel is in his 8th year with the COSCA Group. He's currently the president of the COSCA Group, and he's done 11 successful searches. So Joel has tremendous experience. I've known Joel a long time, a man of high honesty, integrity, and ethics. So you would be getting a wonderful person. Now I have to tell you about myself, which is a little harder to do when you're talking about yourself. So I'm a former superintendent and assistant superintendent. I was in El Monte Union High School District for 38 years, everything from teacher, coach, department chair, counselor, assistant principal, principal, you name it, I've done it. When I retired, I wasn't retired for too long. Cal Poly called me and I became the coordinator of outreach and educational partnerships at Cal Poly Pomona. I coordinated the preliminary administrative credential program for a while, and then they also asked me to work with newer teachers in the teacher intern program. So I did that as well. I'm currently a board member for the LA Education Corps. I'm currently coaching administrators. I have 4 new assistant principals that I coach through the LA County Office of Education. Numerous awards for the district when I was superintendent. We won the national advanced placement mid-sized district of the year. So that was exciting. We went to Philadelphia with the board members and just a very exciting. In addition to Joel and myself, Steve Kennedy will also be helping us. So you'll have a full team of people, and Pat will go into later about how we kind of coordinate together and what we do. The percentage of the COSCA Group superintendents, 95% have served for 5 or more years. So the people we place, they stay. And that's important because the stability is very important in the school district. I know you're looking for stability, so that's part of our track record. That 95%, we're very proud of that. And as Pat said, we are selective in the districts that we pursue.
I think one of the things that stands us apart is that we work extremely hard to tailor our process and your needs to the candidates that we bring forward. Everybody knows that superintendent should have a certain set of knowledge and certain set of skills, but those unique things that you're looking for have to be brought out, and we make sure that each of the searches that we do are very unique because of that particular piece of it. We will work with you to talk to all of your stakeholders. We'll do as many stakeholder meetings as you would like. I know some firms restrict the number. We are open to as many as you want to see. Once we get that profile built that you will design with us, it helps us to have a very clear picture of what you're looking for, and also gives us that criteria for reviewing the applications. And we review and rate them based on that criteria only. We have continuous conversations with the board. We have an open candidate pool. This is also a little bit unique in the field, that many groups will bring you the top 5 candidates or the top 10 candidates. Oops, I forgot to do this. We'll bring you a few candidates. We'll let you see everything, and you will be the ones to select who you want to interview. We will give you all the information we gather as we do other reference calls and bring that back to you, but you make the final decision. You will also have the opportunity to see all the applications. So we have several phases. So the first phase is the pre-recruitment. We will work with you to customize the timeline and the details for the process. We'll work with you on what your initial needs are, and then go through with all the stakeholders, come back to you and see if you want to make any adjustments. We ask 3 questions. We say, what do you think is the thing that makes your district special? What are your challenges? And the third thing is, what kind of a person do you want as a superintendent? And what kind of criteria, what kind of characteristics do you want to see in that person? So we bring that together. We ask the stakeholders those same 3 questions. We also provide an opportunity for online surveys if people can't make the meetings. We will do the meetings any way you see fit. We will do in-person meetings, or if you want to do Zoom meetings, whatever your community would be most what would be most helpful with your community. Once we then confirm that the criteria, we will design an electronic brochure. We anticipate that this district is going to attract lots of sitting superintendents. And to that need, we will send that brochure to every superintendent in the state so that they are able to know that this opening is here and what you're looking for. We advertise and do all the promotion. We pay for everything. We're all inclusive in our fee. We publicize through our partners as well and our associate network. We set up and maintain all records. We do all the communications with all of the candidates and field all the questions. We will, as I said, distribute, take care of all the applications. We are going to go on to reviewing and screening the applicants. We'll conduct all of those reference checks. You don't have to make a phone call. We will then convene a group of people to go through each of those candidates, and then we'll set up a ranking for you so that you'll say, these are stellar matches for what you're looking for. These might be on the fence a little bit, but got some real potential. And then these you may not want to consider. However, once again, it's your choice of who you want to interview. We will help by giving you that report and work through it with you, and then also facilitate the interview selection process. The next phase is then to help you develop some questions that you would like. We have banks and banks and banks of questions. So you can choose from those questions, or you can make up your own or combine some. We've done that with several districts, and we do that with you. We schedule and coordinate all the interviews, and we present you with a compensation study, which is to see what's going on in other districts, what they're paying superintendents, what the benefits are, so you can see what you're thinking, how it falls into what the local going rates are. At the end, once we get the finalists, we'll provide an in-depth background check. We work with a private investigation firm, and they dig pretty deeply to make sure that you're not going to get any surprises. We will arrange a final visit. Oh, Nick, it's your turn.
As Pat said, we'll arrange the final visit for the person that you deem worthy and select to be your next superintendent. We will notify all of the candidates. We do that personally. We ensure that there are no loose ends. And, the worst thing is if someone is not notified, they don't know what's going on, we ensure that that does not happen. We will assist you with the negotiation of the employment contract for your new superintendent, if you so desire our help and support with that. And we will assist with the final announcement and arrangements that go out to the public. So we're here to serve you. That's our main purpose, is to serve you as a board and to serve your school district. So we make sure that everything is taken care of for you. Post-search, we will assist setting the superintendent performance objectives. And so we gather your input on that as well. And that's a very important piece because that will be part of your evaluation of your new superintendent in the future. We can conduct leadership alignment and governance workshops. So that's another savings for you that does not have to be paid for AXA or somebody to come in and do that. And we provide 2 years of superintendent mentoring. So Joel and I would be working on that, as well as other partners in our firm. And as I said, Joel and I have served as site and district leaders for many years. It's probably close to 100 years if you add up all those years. We know full well what knowledge, tools, and skill sets are required and needed for a successful district leader. And as Pat said, our fees are all inclusive. So very comprehensive what we provide for you.
Ooh. Well, we have, that's interesting. The dates didn't come up on your copy. We have a timeline that we've proposed that would start as early as February 13th. Recruitment would take place over a 6-week period. We'd have selection and interview of candidates immediately after that, the appointment. And so you would have your next superintendent selected by the middle of May. And then, of course, the post time would be the up to 2 years of support. We feel that our offering is very cost effective because we have no additional charges. Every second, everything that oh, there they are. Hello. So there we are. We are cost effective. We have unlimited access to the consultants. We meet with the board as many times as possible as you need us. And there is no additional cost for anything. You're never going to get a bill for 1 cent over what the contract amount is. One of our commitments to you is that the search team is solely working with you. They are not going to be working with other districts at the same time or taking on any other responsibilities. We have that 2-year guarantee, which means that the board, if you choose to release the superintendent within a 2-year period, we will do a search for free with expenses. We have an additional free search of the candidate if you don't select anybody on the first round. We also make a commitment to you that if we place a superintendent, we will never recruit that superintendent away from you, which I think is extremely important. So in our all-inclusive fees, we talked about all marketing costs are taken care of, all clerical services, all correspondences, all our online services, and all of our consultant expenses are paid by us, not by you. So as also with that fee, that compensation study, we talked about the mentoring, the workshops could cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 if you do those after the fact, and all of our services. This is my favorite slide. This is what makes us a little bit different. The board is going to make all the decisions. We will guide you, but it's up to you. You will determine the interviews and make the final choices.
That concludes your 15 minutes. So
We are done. Please read this slide because it's really important.
We came pretty close.
Yeah, we did. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Good luck in your choice.
Thank you. Mrs. Hayes, do we have any speaker cards for this item?
we have 2. We have one in person and one online. Jessica Geyer, please come forward. And set the timer for 3 minutes for policy.
I'll make it short. Good evening, trustees. I'm here tonight for our CUC PTSA advocacy team. I just wanted to thank you for providing a transparent process for the selection of our new superintendent and allowing us the opportunity to hear the presenters. I would also like to ask that when you consider hiring our new leader, that person understands the makeup of CUSD, our local area, possibly someone that has lived in our area prior to taking this job, a deep understanding of our funding and facility issues, and the willingness to work hand in hand with our PTAs, PTSAs, by working with our council and our advocacy team. Sorry, we just recently changed our name. Our advocacy team to engage the parent perspective. I understand the challenge that is before you, but I believe that you all have our students' best interests in mind, and I ask that you keep those interests in mind when choosing our person. Thank you.
Our next person is online, Michelle Palazzo Campbell. Michelle, go ahead.
Good evening. I echo Jessica's statement. I greatly appreciate the transparency that you're using in hiring our next superintendent and figuring out the best search firm to represent our district in searching for our next superintendent. I strongly encourage you to select someone who is well aware of the makeup of South Orange County, because we are very unique down here and special in our own little ways, but we have some very unique funding and facility challenges that our next superintendent is going to have to deal with and address. And so I really hope that search firm is aware of those challenges because they live them or have lived them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, now we're going to go to trustees. Oh, yes, go ahead, Ms. Oh, is everybody good with that? 5-minute break? Okay, okay, 5-minute break. Thank you.
The board will now recess for 5 minutes. The time is 7:10. Please stand by.
We are now moving on to trustee questions. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Education Support Services to come back to the podium. We're just going to go in the order of how you presented, and then the trustees will go through and ask questions, and then we'll move on accordingly to each firm. I think that'll be the easiest, so we don't have to zigzag through the firms and have you come up and down the podium. So we're going to start with Educational Services. Does anybody want to start it off? Trustees? Okay, Trustee Bulkus.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to start with the different school districts in which you have serviced them in finding a superintendent. LA Unified, as you had noted, that the superintendent is still there unless otherwise notified, but so you placed this person back January 1st, 2016. They're on medical leave. Noted as 2017. Did they come back? Were you selected as a firm to find someone else, or could you elaborate on that?
She actually passed away. She had cancer. Michelle King did. And so Joe came back and you did the search for free.
That's correct.
And found another trustee, excuse me, another superintendent.
Yes. But at no charge.
And is that superintendent still there?
He was there for several years and then was replaced by the current superintendent.
Okay. And then in terms of Placentia Yorba Linda, that was a real short lived. Can you elaborate as to why that person accepted the position and why they expressed that they were leaving?
Yes, the search was done in November of 2020 before the board election with the current board. And after the November election, there were 3 new trustees elected that had not selected the superintendent. So the 5 board members that selected the superintendent weren't the same ones afterwards. And so after a year and a half, that superintendent has decided to leave. He went back to Claremont. So we came in and helped that current board find their current interim, and they're now undergoing another search.
Okay, thank you. Did that.
And we did that at no additional charge. Yeah. To find their interim.
I noticed your letters of recommendation that you provided, were most recent, all 3 of them from 2021. But they were all really smaller size school districts. San Marcos, which had, just under 20,000, but the others were rather small. I'm just kind of curious why you don't have a letter of recommendation from Santa Ana or Los Angeles.
You want to go ahead? We didn't ask for them. We had some references from Santa Ana, for example, the board president on there, but we didn't go back and ask for letters. We're careful about that because it takes time for board members, to do that. So we could certainly get more letters, but we have references from Santa Ana and Los Angeles, and you did that when you were with HYA.
Well, both of you being familiar with CUSD, we have 7 cities plus unincorporated and all. So do we have a cap on the number of meetings you would have? Because we have found as a district, if we just try to have one here central versus you going out to San Juan and going down as far as San Clemente up to Mission Viejo, we will get better audience participation if it is held within their community. So can you address that, please?
We would use the same model we used in LA Unified. We went to every high school area and conducted, I think there were 12 of them in the major high school regions in the district. But as we said in the application or in our proposal, we'll do whatever you want us to do. We'll devote as much time as we need. If you want us to do X number of focus groups in a cluster of schools, we will do that. We're going to devote all of our time to your search. So in our workshop, you'll have an opportunity to tell us additional things that you'd like us to incorporate into the search itself.
That's it for me for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Davis, do you have any questions for ESS? Okay, Trustee Jones.
Before we go on, I know some of the letters of reference have personal cell numbers. Can we block those out on the website? I think that maybe people didn't want it to be on the website, and that's not your fault. Thank you. Okay.
When the online survey goes out, who is that sent to or who is that intended for?
That is sent to everyone that you ask us to send it to. Generally, we send it out to all of the district's families. You have the email addresses. So we generally send to all families, all employees. If you want us to target, and we know you're not, you have different cities. Most of the folks outside of the initial stakeholders don't fill out the surveys so much. So relative to your cities and those communities, a lot of times it's a one-on-one interview, but they go out generally to all your employees, all your families. We have the students really help us too, especially our high school students, pushing it out to students. We've been pretty fortunate of getting a good response from the students.
We also will interview as many people as you want us to interview, like city managers, for example, are typically included. And we could do those by phone or in person, whichever they prefer. But we'll reach out to as many people as you identify in our planning workshop.
Okay. And do you do particularly engagement to English learning parents?
We can do both English and Spanish speaking.
Okay. Let's see. Will you tell us about the candidates that you screen out? Let's say we get 50 people applying. And I don't think you're going to give us 50 people. I hope it's not a large number. But will we learn about who was screened out and why?
Yes, and one of the other firms mentioned, and I think we do a similar process. The board sees all of the candidates and then they're tiered. So essentially, here are the ones that match your leadership profile and what you've asked us to bring. Here are some in the second tier that match most of your leadership profile, but there are some gaps. Here are some in your third tier that really didn't even qualify probably to apply. And so you'll see all of those. And if you say, we want to see in the third tier, these 7 applications as well. Most board members don't want to look through 50, as you said, Trustee Jones. So we help you with that, but we'll have them all available. And we do tell you why.
Here's these 5 we think you should consider. You're going to take all of them and kind of rank them.
Mhm.
Okay. And then we will decide. All right.
Correct.
You'll also be able to electronically see all the applications and resumes and all the materials that they submit. So you could be as informed as you want to be as an individual board member. It's just how much time do you want to take?
Let's hope not too many hundreds apply. Okay, so then that question goes away. Now, the HYA, I think it was, has a guarantee. And I wanted to know what that's similar that you have. They say throughout the search process, the associates will be able to counsel, and will assist the board until the discernment has found the appropriate candidate. Then, non-solicitation of selected candidate. The superintendent appointed with HYA's assistance will not be presented to another board as a candidate if it would result in the superintendent leaving the district within 3 years of employment, unless the board provides written authorization to do that. And then if the superintendent departs from the position during the first year under any circumstances or within 2 years, if a majority of the board is still in place and departure is due with dissatisfaction and not personal or familial reasons, HYA candidates for the board and no additional cost for travel. So do you have the same guarantee?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
We just didn't include that. There wasn't a specific RFP to include all those things, but yes, we do. And that's the example of Placentia or Belinda that,
Okay. All right.
we
I
just
just want to
mentioned.
make sure everybody had something different.
Yeah.
Here. And it was like, I like this here and I like this here. So I'm going through those. Can you describe the validation visit? I think you use that term. No, you say, we use the term validation visit. Just can you describe it?
Yes, and this is an optional thing. Some boards like to do this and some don't. But if the board decides once you have your finalists that you want to do a validation visit, you want to go out to that individual site, workplace, and talk to some of their stakeholders there. We'll help arrange that. If more than 2 of you or more than 3 of you go, then we have to agendize it as a meeting, and you're able to do that no matter where the candidate lives. If only 3 or fewer of you go on that validation visit, then it doesn't have to be agendized.
But if it's, so let's say it was somebody in Oceanside, it's not very far away, and we all want to go. Doesn't that kind of alert Oceanside to something that maybe we're not ready to alert them to?
I did the search in Oceanside. I could speak to that. Yes, it will. But at that point, that's not inappropriate. Those candidates expect that kind of reaction when they get to that final stage. But I would add to what Suzette said, that I think it's essential that you visit the workplace of your candidate. And I know some districts have not done that. And I think they've tended to regret it later, frankly. We'll facilitate it completely. And when you go to those visits, we will arrange with the candidate to have meetings with multiple groups, teachers, leaders from the associations, principals, board members, community members, and they will be without the candidate present. So you'll get a frank assessment. I say the truth emerges about the candidate through that kind of a process.
Okay, so the fact that maybe their board doesn't want them to leave is not a problem. Their board is already aware that something's up.
Typically, the candidate, if they become a finalist, typically informs their board that they are a finalist. And we want a candidate that their current board does not want to leave. I mean, that's the ideal. And we've dealt with that, and there are ways to handle it.
So that's never happened to you. It has happened. Okay, let's see. Again, KYA mentioned, and I think also Costco mentioned, a post-search support is included in the fee. And that I don't believe you mentioned in your narrative.
We have a transition workshop, and then we certainly offer coaching and those kinds of additional services that's in our proposal. Those are for an additional fee. The transition workshop is included. And so that's part of the handing off.
Okay. And I think I want to know mostly the answers to these questions from everyone. But I think that, I kind of imagine the others listening to you when you're first to speak, and you both worked in this district. I'm acquainted with you both, although Suzette and I only met recently. When Rich Stone was there, recently I saw Rich Stone as well. That's an advantage in some ways, but it's a disadvantage in some ways, because in some ways it's like, people know what they know, or they know what they think they know. This district has changed a lot in the decades that I've been involved, and even since Joe was here. And I just want to say that I don't necessarily think that's an advantage. I know that you think it's an advantage. I don't necessarily see it that way. I think that someone coming in without any preconceived notions can actually have a leg up. On the other hand, we're not hiring you as superintendents, we're hiring you to find a superintendent. So I just kind of wanted to say that.
Would you like me to respond to that?
Can I stop you?
Yes, you can. I think that one of the most important parts of our search, and the ones that Suzette and I have done together, is we don't make any assumptions about what we're going to find. We are aware of the strengths of your district. We both loved working in your district, even during some incredibly difficult times. But when we go out to begin talking to people, we have a blank slate in terms of what we're going to hear. And it's amazing how much you learn by simply listening intently and asking just 3 questions. What are your strengths? What are you worried about? What are your concerns? And what do you want in a new superintendent? And we will do it so comprehensively that when we are finished, we will have talked to thousands of people in addition to all of the surveys that we will do. And we will write a concise summary of where you are as a district and what you need in a new superintendent and what particular characteristics you need within a new superintendent. And we're not just going to go out and perceive that it's like it was 9 years ago. It's not possible that it's the same place it was 9 years ago. But we conceptualize the district, we know the district, but we'll be extremely sensitive to the changes that have occurred since we worked here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, trustee Pritchard. Okay, trustee Hannaford.
Just confirming, you guys are a division of Atkinson, Anderson, Loya, Rood, and Roma, which we all talk about every day here at CUSD, AALRR, obviously the top educational law firm in Orange County and probably elsewhere. So I think I would like to note that. Also, just coming back to what you're offering for workshops and then the transition workshop. And I know others kind of spoke to this, but you succinctly address this right out of the gate. This having been through the process at least once, and there's 7 of us, we're all to the opportunity, as CUC PTSA representative talked about, open and transparent. So we will, all of us, be learning together with your guidance. As much as we want to be free to decide and stuff, we're hiring you to guide us and shepherd us through this process, because otherwise it can be, from what I remember before, very unwieldy. So I really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate how you succinctly laid it out in your timeline, and especially that transition workshop. Folks may not be here tonight, but they're listening. This is a unique school district where people, also our employees, live, work, and raise their children here. So people are very invested. So I definitely appreciate the format of how you put what many offer in a succinct form. Also, facilitating and offering to that validation visit. In retrospect now, I respect how important that will be, and as a board, and I will appreciate that kind of pre-work. Most of us here maybe don't have time to do all of this. Like you said, we can be as engaged as we want to or not. So again, thank you for your format. I like that transition workshop. And just a final comment, as much as I love how everybody's talking about they're going to offer all this executive leadership, I am hoping that folks aren't going to need 3 years of executive guidance where I open up my consent calendar and see that charge over and over and over again. But I do respect that you will be there to help that transition and therefore them if something does come up. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Trustee Parham.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I just have 2 questions. You know, California is a uniquely complex state, especially when it comes to education and funding in particular. And I'm curious, my gut tells me that the right candidate is someone who's knowledgeable about California, but maybe that's not fair. And I'm curious, you know, how well do superintendents from outside of California fare when they come here? And I'm not talking about someone like Carvalho, who's more like a, you know, a superstar kind of guy. It's more of a big ticket item. I'm talking about the groundwork type superintendent at a medium-sized district. How do they fare when they come here? And as a follow-up to that, is that a strength of yours, finding someone from outside of California?
Well, I mentioned that I worked for HYA for many years before I joined my current firm, and it's a national search firm. And on all the searches that we did, there were typically out-of-state candidates. And I'm going to just be brutally frank and honest with you. We're developing our relationship for that right now. And typically the outside of California candidates do not compete as well. And I don't know why that is, but we had candidates in all the searches we did that were very highly respected in their own states. But when they came here and were answering our questions, California-based questions, they typically did not do as well. Now, there have been a couple of exceptions of candidates who came from out of state who are still doing extraordinary work in California and got the jobs and were really superstars. But in my own personal experience, the out-of-state candidates did not do as well as the California candidates. But there are exceptions.
I have a follow-up to that. How many candidates have you placed from out of state?
I'd have to really think about that. I know I was involved with one candidate from out of state who is in California now and doing very well as a superintendent. All of the others have been California residents.
Mine too. I have not placed any. So that one, yeah. Mhm.
And those are two different people.
Two different people. But as Joe said, I think it's easier for a Californian to leave the superintendency here and go to another state than it is for someone to leave the superintendency from another state and come here because of our complexities, all the things that, doesn't mean it's not possible.
My other question, thank you. My other question was, being a leader sometimes means taking an unpopular position. And I'm curious, how do you find the candidate who's wildly popular, but yet has taken unpopular positions? How do you find that?
I think they're out there and they are candidates that know the work, they know the job, they have their areas of expertise, be it instruction, CBO, finance, but they also have the accompanying interpersonal skill that they develop meaningful professional relationships with their subordinates and their coworkers, their board members, and know how to do that very thing. I would say that when Suzette and I were here, we dealt with unbelievable challenges. My second year, we had to cut $15 million. There'd just been a recall. I mean, it was an amazing time. But a really good leader, and the leader that we want to recruit for you, is going to know how to do that while retaining the appropriate professional relationships with everyone he or she works with. And they do exist. And, we may call them the superstar superintendents, but that's the person that you want to hire and that you deserve as a district. This district should not have anything less than that.
One of my biggest pet peeves is this whole group think that happens in education in California, which that's all I know. And when I say that group think, I'm talking about everyone knows each other. Everyone does what AXA says you should do or CSBA says you should do. Rare is the superintendent who doesn't do what everyone else around him is doing in districts nearby. And that bothers me because you don't get much innovation. And, not that we want to renegade. I'm not suggesting that. I want someone who's willing to push back to a lawyer, for example. Just because this district settled doesn't mean that we need to do it. Someone who tests the envelope, pushes the envelope a little bit. Because I don't think you get innovation or you lead change otherwise. And I think that's a big problem in California. So I guess it's not really a question. It's more of, you are looking for a needle in a haystack. It's not as simple as, well, hey, here's Capo. Everyone, wants to live here. Send in your resume. We need a leader. We need someone who leads from the front, and vetting that is really on you. That's fine.
I would say that you're right. This circle of educational leaders in the state, particularly when you start looking mainly at Southern California, is a very tight, close, and maybe not too welcoming of a group. And frankly, I was not one when I was superintendent who ever fit into that old boy network. And if that's what you tell us you're looking for in your new superintendent, that's the superintendent we will seek. And I do believe they're out there.
And your point about a trailblazer is really, really important. And it starts with the support of the board, because no one is a trailblazer if they don't have the board's majority support. And not just the majority, they want the full board. And the job is so precarious these days that it's scary. So if the candidates see that all 7 of you are aligned, we want a trailblazer, we want someone that's going to push the envelope a little bit within these boundaries, you'll find that, but it's got to be the 7-member board, support of that and what those parameters are like.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, thank you for your time, your presentation. I think we have a lot of unique needs in CUSD. I think we have some challenges that are approaching us, especially around facilities. So I know that, this is an important search and then these are some significant things that we're going to be tackling. So thank you.
Thank you.
Pardon me, I just have one quick question. Does your fee include a compensation study? I know some of them do.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call up HYA. And we'll start with Trustee Volakus. Do you have any questions?
Well, we already touched on this, but it was something that you must have said in your presentation that made me make a note. And that is in regards to a superintendent who understands California law. So going through the process, how can your firm, in trying to identify a candidate, best identify the wealth of knowledge or the lack thereof in terms of within California in regards to law?
Well, we would expect most superintendents or aspiring superintendents who are applying for a position to understand not only overall school law, but if they're going to come to California, they need to brush up real quick on California law. And because we are a national firm, as well as a California firm, we look to candidates, as we vet them to see what their knowledge are. If they're a superintendent now and have that ability to understand the California law, that's part of our vetting process. So it's kind of, part of looking at the individuals who are applying and see what their background is, what their education is, and any experiences that they may have. Some superintendents may have gone to law school, or they may have good legal firms that they work with through some issues and challenges that they can speak to in their applications. So we sort of vet them that way to see what their extensive knowledge is, and that will go into how we present them to you, that, the board wants someone who understands California law. And if they don't, then they may not make that cut to get to you.
Since you're a national company, the way I look at this from a business perspective is, I don't know if we have an updated number, but we were the 7th largest in California. So for those that are currently superintendents of smaller school districts, the way it usually works is it's a promotion. I want to, work in a larger school district.
Right.
Can you tell me through your experience how often in a situation, whatever state you're working in, if you have a large school district, do you have very many candidates that come forward who, whether they're newbies or, less than 5-7 years, that go for the big one in terms of, and unless they just set you on fire with their presence and what they sell to you, do you find that it's generally someone that doesn't make it into the list?
Well, again, a lot depends on, what they've done and what their present position is and how successful they've been in that smaller district. Looking to move forward. And a lot of superintendents who sort of been in a small or medium district, that's part of their sort of career goal. I want to go to a larger district now. There's more challenges there. So kind of look at what their past accomplishments are, what their frame of mind is. Do they have a growth mindset? Are they willing to go to their larger district? Do they have the skills necessary to do the job and do the vetting again? Getting some background on them, knowing them. We use all of our associates around the nation to bring people to us, to help recruit people. And they may know someone who's been in a Michigan school district that's done really great things, but now they're ready for something bigger and they want to move to California, and this is a great district to be in. Then we kind of put them in the process of applying and getting more information about them to see, really, are they going to be able to do the job in this large school district? So it's using our associates to help us vet those people, recruiting and finding them wherever they are, and knowing, do they have the mindset, the growth mindset, the leadership skills to be successful in a larger district?
Well, I've got one more question, and it'll be the same that I asked of the Costco group. Is your firm one that then offers, after the superintendent, the transitional a workshop?
Yes, we do follow up and work with the board on goals and what expectations you have in evaluating that superintendent moving forward. We work with you on that. And if they're not successful within that 2-year period, we come back and do it again. Or if they leave for some reason, we will definitely do that for free. So we don't just leave. We are with you throughout the tenure. And I myself, I still follow people that we put in place 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Well, I guess I might be naive in the education business, but in the business world, it really pretty much blows me away. Because I'm expecting any organization that brings us candidates that they are stealth.
Yes.
This is a fabulous school district.
Yes, it is.
They're going to come in here running. Yes, there's adjustments that have to be made, but if we have to have mentoring, afterwards and all, it's like, I'm thinking that candidate was not the right one from the very beginning. That's just my thought.
Well, everyone needs a little support regardless of how good. I'm sure Mr. Carvello in LAUSD, one of the superstars, I'm sure he has someone he can talk to every now and then. So, I understand your point. So we'll definitely make sure that that person has the skills and qualifications for you to vet and see if you want to even talk to them and select that right person.
Trustee Davis.
Being that you're a national firm, what's your percentage of candidates that you're placing in California and from California to California or outside of state to California? What's that percentage for your?
Well, it's not as high as some of the other firms, and we're working on that now. Because the firm is located in Illinois, we're starting to continue to build up the California profile. So we're probably in the 20% range as far as getting outside candidates to come in and placing them from within California as well. So we're working on that. But because of our national reach, we have a lot bigger pool for the board to look at.
Okay, Trustee Jones.
The discussion of people from outside of California, my thought is I've known people who have worked in California and then for one reason or another have gone elsewhere and are now either coming back or interested in coming back. And I think that's different from someone who has only worked in, say, Illinois. If you had been, say, a high school principal in I don't know, San Diego, and then, job transfer or whatever, you went to Arizona and now are ready to come back. I think that I could see that as working, but I do think, I'm not surprised that Dr. Farley and Dr. Lovely say they each only placed one because it doesn't entirely appeal to me, but I think they're a possibility. Okay, so I'm going to ask a lot of the same questions. To whom is the online survey sent?
We work with the board on, if you want it, we want to send it to, after we work together on getting that survey questions and what do you want on it, it's to all the stakeholders that you want us to send it to. And I would suggest as many people as possible to get more input from the community. So we work with you on that.
And you can work with non-English speaking.
Oh, yes,
okay,
definitely.
And we can probably do the translations. But
right, in other languages as well. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then will you tell us about every candidate you screen out and why you
Yes.
screen them out?
Definitely, definitely, we will. And it may be, like they say, some people, it may be 50, maybe 100, but we will let you know and put them in categories of looking, this is a very strong candidate, medium, strong, and maybe someone not to consider, but you will have opportunity to see them all. And we like to pare it down to a, 10 or 12 or 15, and then have them do a virtual videotaping of questions that we work with you on. So you can see them answering those questions. And I think that's been very, very successful in helping the board kind of get a, idea of that particular candidate and what their thoughts are on particular areas. So I think that's very important to do as well.
I guess I'm not sure I understand. Are you talking about questions you would be asking them just as you're like trying to qualify them? Like, what's the most difficult situation you've ever faced or something like that?
Something like, yes.
Okay, so you would take that. and
Yes.
Show it to us.
Exactly.
Great. And then do you show us everyone, like, as some of the others have said, where, there's 100 candidates and these
Yes.
20 are the top ones and then there's
Yes.
the 20. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And let's see, do you include a compensation study in your fees? Or is
Yes.
that separate? Okay.
No, that's included.
Okay, and we would, I think, only need California. Let's see. And then can you describe for me what a validation visit, if we were to be deciding to do that, what's that like and what's the value to you?
That's very valuable to us and you as a board member. And of course, we would invite the candidate in, and usually we try to do a breakfast with two of the board members. We don't want to violate any Brown Acts, and have that person have that breakfast with them. You see them in a different environment, and then also then we switch around and maybe have a lunch with the other board members, and just we arrange it around your schedules so you can get a sort of look at the members. In a relaxed setting, as opposed to just having them, come in and answer questions to an interview. I think that validation visit would be helpful to see them, not only to come and see the facilities or to have that interview process going on, but also to have that informal time with them, which I think you can kind of sense if that person going to be comfortable, or we're going to be comfortable with them. What are the interpersonal skills like? I think that's been very helpful in the past.
And when I'm speaking of validation visit, I'm talking about visiting their site where they are presently employed. Is that what you meant?
Oh, yeah, I was meant for them to come here, but as well as you going there, yes.
Yeah, for us.
If they're local, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, here in California, but.
So what do you think is the value of going to, I don't know, Riverside and Unified, or I don't know if Riverside is Unified or not, but to Riverside and to visit them on site?
Well, I think it's important that, of course, they're finalists, I hope, and they've informed their board. Then you get an opportunity to see what people actually, how they interact with the staff, and some of the things staff may say, oh, no, take our superintendent away, things of that nature. And I think it's very helpful for the candidate as well, so he can kind of put on his best foot forward. But I think those visits are very important as well. Hopefully they're local. If they're from another state, that may be a little bit more difficult. May have to do Zoom or something like that.
Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trustee Pritchard. Trustee Hanachak. Trustee Parham. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up Leadership Associates. Thank you. Do you always want me to start with you, Trustee Bolkus, or you want me to? Are you? Okay, I'll go this way. I'll start with Trustee Parham.
Okay, I just have one question, and I think, and I'm being maybe presumptuous, but the big differentiator in my mind for Leadership Associates is that you're kind of the big player in California. You've done the most placements, and you're very active, and I think that's in most ways that's a great thing. But I am concerned about one factor which could be in play, which is that, you mentioned you have a team of 14 that discuss and help, identify candidates. But could that also play the wrong direction where you're kind of predetermining who's going where based on, internal,
Not at all.
and I don't mean to, go after anyone's integrity, but it's just, walk me through how that goes because it's a concern that I have.
Certainly. And we can assure you that that's definitely not the case. As I mentioned, we meet with one another every other Tuesday morning via Zoom. And after we've completed our stakeholder input sessions, then we know, starting with the board, what you really, really want in a superintendent. What are the skills and the qualities, the personal qualities and the professional characteristics? What's going to be most important for Capistrano? Then we talk about what your needs are, and we ask our colleagues, who are some folks that you know out there who have a track record of these types of values and characteristics? So it's
But at any one moment, you're working on 10 or 20 different assignments.
no, I'm not. We would be, the three of us, Kent and Peggy and I, would be completely committed just to Capo. And I'm working on Westminster right now, but that'll be done before this one starts. It's very labor intensive when we do a search process. So you get us, but it's value added.
Yeah, I just think that in no way do we say, oh, you were already there and I want you now. First of all, we place people, we don't do that at all. But we use that as a resource because somebody's going to know somebody in Northern California that I just don't know. And they're going to say, they might make a really good match for what Capistrano is looking for. If you want to talk to them, call them. But there's no pass them around or any of those kinds of things. We try, and it may be somebody none of us know. And somebody asked earlier about the out-of-state placements. Personally, I think, and I've been doing this a lot longer than I've been doing it 2009. I've probably placed at least 5 or 6 people from out of state. I haven't placed them, they've hired them. But, and they've for different reasons, they wanted to come back to California. They were here at one point. They have family moving here. They're, the biggest challenge with California is probably the finance piece. I mean, that's probably the one big adjustment because we have a different set of funding mechanisms than a lot of states do, but it's definitely a wide open process for us.
Well, if we were going to look out of state, I would suggest let's focus on Hawaii. So,
well, one thing we do tell them is check the cost of housing.
thank you. No more.
Okay.
Trustee Hannachek.
Thank you.
Trustee Pritchard. Trustee Jones.
Oh, come back to me, sorry.
Okay, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Trustee Davis.
A couple of things for the language for agendas, right, and the press releases. And I also have some of the same questions that Trustee Jones, which I'm gonna assume that you're gonna ask again, but that, translation for our English language learners and I have all the good job covered. Yeah, you're gonna cover it. I know it.
Okay, Trustee Bolkus.
My memory might not serve me right, but one of your associates search leads is Dennis Smith. And I thought Dennis Smith had helped us out and worked as an interim superintendent. Let's see, I don't remember that. No, it was different.
He was in Irvine.
It was in Irvine?
Irvine superintendent, yeah.
No, I know what it was. Yeah, I joked about it a little while ago. We hired him.
You hired him, yes, that's right.
And Belinda said, no, we will give you a big bag of money to stay. And
Oh, that's
he
right.
stayed. Am I right?
I think there was another,
Exactly, okay, all right, well, in any
Yeah.
event.
there was another piece. To
But
that.
yeah, he was hired here and either came for a very short time or didn't come at all.
Yeah, there was a few other things as I recall happened, but I don't remember all the details, but yeah.
Okay, with that knowledge, I strike the question I was going to ask. And I really don't have any other questions. I appreciated your presentation and I don't have any at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, trustee Jones.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So, it was very hard to compare these. They were all so different. Are you offering a similar guarantee to what, HYA mentioned, where you're not going to recruit them away and we lose them in a certain period of time? Okay, all right. I appreciate that. And you could do a compensation study?
Yes.
Okay. Then, but what about the screening people out? Are the others have described where we kind of see everyone? And I had been warned by some of my fellow trustees in other districts that, not specifically about you, but that a lot of firms, you know, they send you who they want to hire and then you don't see anybody else. So I want to make sure that's not going to happen.
Correct. So we do not do that at all. You will see every candidate who applies. You'll see all their materials. You'll have access to a portal through our firm that will allow you to read every one of them. We do, like every firm, I mean, there's lots of similarities too. We all do reference checking, you know, we do all that. We look at the ones that seem to match the profile that you've helped us develop the best, but that doesn't mean you have to interview those. There'll be some people that we may say, we don't screen them out in the sense of saying, you can't ever talk, you don't even know who they are. We may say to you, our reference checking has led us to these pieces of information that would suggest it's not somebody you should interview. And that may be something in their past, that may be something that's currently going on in their district. It could be a combination of things, but we don't just say, you're never going to know who they are.
But ultimately, it's your choice.
Yeah.
We'll just share with you everything that we have been able to discover through all of the extensive vetting. So you hear all of that and you see all of their paperwork. So yeah, you see everything.
And then I noticed for your advertising and active recruitment, you say the ad appears in EdCal. I assume you also do EdJoin and AXA, or no?
EdCal is AXA.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
EdJoin, we don't typically use. You're certainly welcome to say that you want us to use it, but EdJoin is so general that it's not really focused on administrators particularly, and people often apply thinking that because they know something about education that they can become the superintendent of a district of like this nature, and probably not. I mean, I did a search once where it was for CIF in San Diego, and we had somebody from FedEx apply because he thought he liked sports. I mean, and that's what EdJoin got us. So we tend to focus really around administrative type things.
Okay, all right. I was hiring somebody one time many years ago, and someone who was a flooring rep would apply, and we were a software company. So I understand. Okay, the board interviews candidates, selects finalists, closed session, all-day meeting. Is that 2 sessions where in the morning you talk to people and then, you know, you get together and decide, okay, we want to talk to, so maybe there's 5 who come in the morning, and then you narrow it down to 2 or 3. And so there's another session of the finalists. Okay. Right.
And I would just also say that that doesn't have to be in one day. If depending on how many candidates, it could go over 2 days.
Okay. Okay. And it also probably depends on where they're coming from.
And how many you interview, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that might be everything. Let me just look at this. Like I say, it was so hard to sort all this out. No, I think I'm good. Thank you very much.
One just a point of clarification. We also offer a workshop for the board and the new superintendent to make sure that's a springboard to start everything off on the right foot. But also, if the board is not in favor of any coaching, we still provide support at 0 cost to the district through the Orange County Superintendent Leadership Series. And that's ongoing training. And in between those 5 sessions that we provide each year, we're available to those superintendents one-on-one whenever they want at 0 cost.
But you don't have the 2 years of support or something like that. You have a session, I think, that is included. Am I correct? With the board. Okay.
A session with the board and then ongoing support through the Superintendent Leadership Series through Orange County.
Oh, I see. Okay. Because I feel like, and I know that some of the trustees have said otherwise, I think it's helpful for people, this is a rarefied atmosphere, especially at this level. I think it's helpful for people to have peers that they can talk to, and even retired superintendents like yourselves who are not, their current peers, to, just get ideas when you talk to people. And in a community, we're a very diverse community. And there's times when there's, these people and these people, and the superintendent needs to figure out, the middle way. And I think that there's always value in having those peers, and some that there's peers here in Orange County, but I don't know, and Dr. Farley and Dr. Lovely would know better than I, but I don't know if they are always the most helpful, because there's some jealousy right here locally. And I think so there's someone here and someone here, and there's the retired people. I just find that to be of value. I know I would find it of value if it were me.
The superintendency has always been a very, very complex responsibility, and even more so now. So it's not wise to go at it alone. We tell the superintendents all the time, you've got to have support, and doesn't have to be just one person. It's really important to listen to a variety of perspectives, and then consider your own context and the own circumstances in the communities that you serve. So I just wanted to make the point that, there are professional athletes that have their own coaches, at whatever top of the game they're at. They always want to continually improve and stay at the top of their game, and even more so. But we will provide that support at zero cost if there's not a commitment from the majority board to provide coaching.
I know that several years ago, this marriage encounter was very popular, and because you go to counseling or go to marriage encounter or whatever, doesn't mean that you've married the wrong person. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with anybody. There's just ways that you can learn to do better. And so I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And lastly, the Costco group. Okay, and trustee Barnum? Trustee Hanachek? Trustee Pritchard? Are you ready, trustee Jones, or you want me to come back to you?
I think if trustee Bullicus is ready, are you ready to ask questions of them?
Trustee Bullicus?
I have one question.
Great.
So on the subject that we have just been speaking of, and your ability and desire to make sure that we have the right person chosen, that you're willing to offer training years after, may I ask you, how often do districts take advantage of that? And have you ever had an instance where there is this mentoring, mediation, and it just didn't work? They chose the wrong person.
The wrong person to mentor? To be the mentor?
They hired the wrong
superintendent.
Oh, the wrong superintendent. Yes. Okay, there you go. Well, this, I've been very interested in the discussions, because our experience has been that we often find when we help the district to hire an experienced superintendent, their needs are very different. There's that balance of confidants versus colleagues. Superintendent's a very lonely business. You're the only one there doing that job. So that having that confidant who may be another superintendent, it may be the person who is your mentor, but having somebody to bounce ideas off of is invaluable. If it turns out that this is a tough one, because you're looking at, if we're saying, okay, this is now not the right person, that's the board's decision to decide if that's the right person or not. And if there is a need to make a change, we said we would guarantee within 2 years, if you don't like that person or it's not working out for you and you want to release that person, we'll come back and do the search for free. Most of the mentoring happens for a newer superintendent who comes in who has never had the experience of that person, and they may be in contact much more often. We have 24 partners in our group, and so if it's not a nice match, if it turns out that that person is giving them what they need, we will find another person for them within our group to mentor them. And it's basically a buddy that you can talk to. I mean, that's more, when we talk mentoring, it sounds like you're teaching the person the job, and it's not that way. So it's more to come in and be another set of eyes and ears that can look at a situation differently, maybe give you some input and go from there.
I'd like to add one piece to that. And Trustee Jones, you mentioned that doesn't mean there's something wrong, right? And it doesn't mean that, but it does help promote the continuous cycle of improvement, which we can all improve, even if we're great, right? Even the greatest ball players, they still look for ways to improve. So that's what it's about, that continuous cycle of improvement.
Yeah. I always say Michael Jordan had a coach.
And I understand that. I understand the context in which Trustee Jones was speaking. I just, in my many years experience in going to a new role, with your expertise, you generally already have colleagues. You've got those relationships, that support group.
And that may be
So
perfect for them.
I'm kind of curious in terms of, okay, so now there's a firm that you've had a big relationship you've built because they've placed you, helped place you. But I just wondered how often people rely on you for that versus going to their own extension of peer group to,
Sure. It's at their need. So they may choose to call or they may not. And that's fine. We are not calling once a month and saying, so how's it going? We are definitely waiting for them to make the contact. And in some cases, it's smooth sailing right from the very beginning. And others, maybe some odd situation that comes up. The nice part about the team that we would have for you is that Steve, who was the third person that would be added, has a lot of expertise in the area of HR. Joel has a lot of interest in areas in the area of instruction, and Nick has a lot in business. So you've got a nice rounded group of people that could be a support.
Well, again, I thank you and I understand it. My real question was, how often does that happen? How often do you individually go back out and do training? I was just trying to get a sense for that.
I think a perspective on it, it's just another resource for the person if they need.
Good.
Thank you. Trustee Davis? I can go to Trustee Jones. Okay, Trustee Jones.
Okay, I have a couple of actual questions. One is, let's see, you mentioned that when you have the brochure ready, you're going to send it to every superintendent of the state.
That's correct.
And I think that is not a great idea. There are a lot of 1 and 2 school districts, and that we do not need to have their superintendents apply.
Most of what will happen will be that they'll pass it on to somebody they think might be a good idea for them to apply. Maybe just one more way to get the word out. What we're trying to do is blanket the state to let people know there's an opening. The brochure becomes a very important tool. And a lot of the conversation that we have with potential applicants is this a job for you? Because they'll say, well, I've been a superintendent of one school district and I think I'm ready for Capo. And it's like, I don't think so. You might want to think about that, because look at the criteria they're asking for. How close do you meet that criteria? So using that as our base, it really helps us to weed out potential candidates that would be just a waste of your time and obviously a waste of our time too, because the time that we spend doing the reference calls, and we're very committed to not just calling the people that they give us the names of. We always ask the person that we're talking to, and who else should we talk to? And we get a lot more information on that. So we want to get it down to a reliable group of people who are really committed and interested. We hold a superintendent candidates seminar every year. And we get people who come who are thinking about becoming a superintendent. And one of the things that we really push very hard is the idea of make sure you're a match for this district. Make sure this is a district where you would want to work and make sure you meet their criteria. And so, in fact, we're going to have ours at the end of the month of February. So we'll be looking at we'll be able to see some other candidates who are out there that might be interested. And we also do get at that time, a lot of sitting superintendents that come in that may be looking for a new spot. So hope that helps.
Okay, and then, you have assist board in the selection of a finalist. Again, is that 2 days? Is that 1 day?
It's up to you.
Go ahead.
It's up to you. If you decide that you want to see 10 people and we're going to take an hour for each candidate, that's 10 hours. Do you want to sit for 10 hours in 1 day? I don't think so. So we'll divide it out. If it's up to your schedule, so we have to work. You have, some of you have jobs, I'm sure, and you have other obligations. So we want to make sure that we want to bring those candidates in. We usually do it on a Friday, Saturday. If there are enough candidates that we need more time, we'll do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then do the finalists on the Sunday. And usually we get down to 2, sometimes 3 top candidates. And at the same time, we're running those background checks as well. So we want to make sure that it's comfortable. We don't want you to get fatigued. And as even just seeing 4 groups tonight, you're probably going, okay, who said this? So if you think that happens for 4 people, wait until you do 10 1 day. It doesn't, it doesn't work. So we'll do it whatever way you want to do it.
But it's still set up where you bring in, again, let's say 5, and then we need to get it down to 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk to the 5 and then get with you and talk about, okay, really didn't like these 2. This one is a maybe. And then we bring those 2 or 3 back.
Yeah. Joel has a great process of helping you to sort through. We do a ranking as you're doing it. So if you've done rankings before where you see the first person and then you see the second person, you go, okay, I like this guy better than that guy. And then you get to the next person. And so then if at the end of 5 or 6, you want to kind of regroup and discuss, great. If you're ready to go on to the next and do all 10, or you may only want to see 6 people.
Okay.
We don't know.
Mr. Presby, this is a great idea. We should start doing this. We do it. Okay. I'm going to, I've asked the same questions over and over again. Do you want to respond to any of those? I feel like every time I've asked, I've gotten like, oh, yes, we do that. Do you want to respond to any of those?
Well, I think we were very clear about our all-inclusive. So the workshops, the mentoring, all of that is included within the contract. And we also mentioned that we will help with the contract development if you want that support as well. I think the most important thing is that we don't do a stable. We make sure that we get individual people in. You've talked about doing the site visits. That was one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about. We feel that the site visit becomes a great tool, and Nick mentioned such an important part that you see the culture of the organization that you can't get from just that interview.
It's a feel. Yeah.
You can get that feeling. You get in and people are excited, they're interested, they're talking in a very positive way about the candidate. And you just get this sense of, hey, this is a good place, and it's developed a beautiful culture. So you can't get that from reading an application or even listening to a candidate, because remember, everything at that point is what they've told you about themselves and what other people, many of which they said that you should talk to, have told them about you, told you about them. So it gives you an opportunity to meet with board members. It gives you an opportunity to meet with their subordinates. And there may be those 9 questions after you interview somebody and you go, oh gosh, I wish I just had an idea, how they would deal with some kind of crisis. And you have that opportunity at that point, because you don't go through a whole formal interview process. It's much more relaxed. It's informal. It's a setting where you can get a feel for the person on top of it, which just either reinforces or comes back to you and says, wait a minute, this isn't at all what I thought this person was like. So I think that there's so much value in that experience.
One last question. The three of you that will be working with us, if you are so chosen, where do all of you reside?
Long Beach,
And
Jules and Sierra Madre.
Joe's in Sierra Madre, and Steve is in the Vista area.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Sure, go ahead, trustee Valdez.
Do you recommend we look internally for a candidate? And if we were to identify one, what happens to your fee?
If you have, actually, this happened not that long ago. If you have an internal candidate, they go through the same process. And so you can compare the responses that they give to the responses of other people. I think you want to have that open, objective look at a person who is internal. If you're sitting around one afternoon and we've started already, and you shut down, we've had situations where, you know, the search is shut down and said, you know, we've changed our mind. We're just going to put this person in that we really, really like in our district. That's where it stops. And so if we're at the end of the first phase, you pay for the first phase. If you're at the second phase, you pay for the second phase. So we stop where we stop.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
I'd like to add one piece. And I know Pat talked a lot about it as far as the importance of that validation visit, because it does give you the feel for the culture and the feeling of people within that district, which is really important. You can't get that from the interview. The other piece Pat alluded to, doing background and reference checks. It's extremely important to get to people that aren't just listed as references, because obviously you're going to get a positive report. So the deep digging and talking to other people that weren't listed is also extremely important, and we take that seriously.
And your question about seeing new charges on the consent form, you wouldn't see any from us. When you asked about seeing new charges on the consent items, you wouldn't see any from us. We don't have that.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this was an informational item only, so no board action is necessary. So we're going to move on in the agenda to 9A2, which is trustee selection of superintendent search firm. So it's now time for the trustees to select an outside agency to conduct the search for the superintendent. Mrs. Hayes, do you have any speaker cards for this item?
We have one online speaker, Michelle Colossal Campbell.
I want to again thank you for your transparency in this process. And I really appreciate all the detailed oriented questions that the trustees asked of all four potential hiring firms or search selection firms, for a better naming of them. And please really think about the awareness of people and the unique characteristics that make South Orange County so special when trying to find the next superintendent for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, at this time, trustees, I'm going to need a motion to select a search firm for the superintendent. Do I have any nominations to? Oh, your microphone, trustee Target.
I think we selected 4 good candidates to come forward, and I appreciate that for sure. It provided kind of a broad spectrum. I think their offerings are very similar because it is what it is. And so I'm glad to know that all 4 of them are on the same page with how they do things. So we're not really nickel and diming between one versus the other. But I do think that coupled with the fact that they're part of the law firm we do a lot of work with, I think ESS has that real deep knowledge of our district, the pros and cons of our district, and can help us navigate through this process a bit better than the rest. So I would nominate them as my choice.
Okay. Any other nomination, or do I have a second for that nomination?
I'll second that.
Okay. Moved by Parham. Seconded by Hanchett. Any other nominations?
I want to nominate leadership associates.
Okay.
I second that.
We're going to take a vote in the order that they're nominated. So we'll, Leadership Associates was, moved by trustee Jones and seconded by trustee Bolkus, correct? Okay, is that all our nominations for tonight? Okay. So we're going to start with ESS. So I can do this as a. Okay, thank you. All those in favor of selecting ESS as the search firm for the superintendent, please say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? Nay. Nay. Okay. I believe the ayes have it. I got a nay from trustee Bullock, is correct? And trustee Jones? Okay. And trustee Davis? So that would be motion carries. I'm also an aye. So that would be motion carries to select ESS as a search firm for the superintendent and further direct staff to continue. Is that correct? We don't have to write it down. Sorry? Oh, okay. To bring a contract with the selected firm board approval for the future board meeting. Okay. All right. So there's no further business before the board, and I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, moved by trustee Hanachek, seconded by trustee Parham. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries 7-0 to adjourn the meeting. The time is now 8:25.